Chapter 9. Meanwhile, at school, things were moving into that wonderful pre-Christmas zone where teachers put a film on during the afternoon and all the work is somehow connected to a festive theme. Our main focus was the Christmas play. We usually did a plain old nativity, but our new drama teacher, Mr Beaumont, was one of those teachers who's super keen at all times, and he'd had the idea to do what he called a rock and roll nativity. The three wise men had inflatable electric guitars. Mary and Joseph were down on their luck singers, and the angel Gabriel was a music business manager. I was playing a sheep. Before you start feeling sorry for me, someone has to be a sheep in every nativity play, and it's usually me. I actually don't mind, as it means you don't have to sing or dance, and I'm no good at either of these things, unless the dancing is copying the Rainbow Cat's dance moves in my bedroom. Plus the costume is nice and warm. Since we were doing such a high-tech production, our primary school is so small, the local secondary school has been roped in to help, which meant I was seeing more of Will than I used to. He was assisting with the lighting, doing something complicated with a tablet and lots of buttons. A bunch of his friends were also there. I recognised a few of them, Henry Martin in particular, but none of them seemed to be speaking to Will, who was instead spending a lot of time with the teacher who'd brought them over. I kept an eye on my brother during the rehearsal. At one point I noticed him trying to say something to Henry, but his friend went red and scuttled off like he was embarrassed to be noticed. What was going on? "All right," Mr Beaumont called when we'd finished the run-through. "Now, at the end of the play there will be applause and cheering and so on, and that's when Father Christmas comes in to give out candy canes to the audience." He gestured towards the back of the room where Mr Melnick, the caretaker, was standing wearing a rather threadbare Santa costume and a fake beard that didn't touch his chin. He wasn't smiling, and I got the feeling he'd been bullied into wearing the outfit. "I'm sure someone else can do this better than me," he said wearily. "Nonsense, you look fabulous," Mr Beaumont replied, waving his hand as if to dismiss the idea. "So, forwards, Mr Melnick, that's right, and give out the candy canes to the audience." Blushing redder than the tatty Santa suit, Mr Melnick shuffled forwards a bit and meekly pretended to give out sweets to an invisible audience. "Can't you put a bit more into it?" Mr Beaumont said after a moment of slightly deflating Santa activity. "A bit of ho-ho or something." "I'm not an actor," Mr Melnick snapped. He stopped halfway down the aisle of chairs and looked pleadingly at Mr Beaumont. "You need someone with Santa experience. Unfortunately, the chap I'd originally asked to do it has been snapped up by the shopping centre," Mr Beaumont sighed. "I'm sorry, but people born to play Santa Claus don't just wander across my path on a daily basis." Everyone jumped when a bzzz sounded from the office security door. After a pause, the door opened remotely as the visitor was granted entrance. My heart sank when I saw who it was. Nick. Nick, dressed in his red and tartan work clothes, his grey-white beard and hair fly away in the cold December wind, holding leaflets about the farm park. He must have come to drop them off at school. He caught sight of me and Will, and his face lit up in a smile. "Oh, hello, Harper, Will." Will raised a hand while I tried to shrink down into the neck of my sheep costume. Mr Beaumont, however, was looking at Nick as though he'd ridden down from heaven on a sunbeam. He walked over, a hand outstretched to shake. "I'm Madame Beaumont," he said quickly, seizing Nick's hand. "Drama teacher." "I'm Nick. I'm Harper and Will's, His voice trailed off awkwardly. "I mean, their mum and I." Fortunately, Mr Beaumont didn't seem to care how the sentence was going to finish. "Tell me, sir, have you ever been on stage at all? I think you'd make a terrific Father Christmas." Nick looked a bit uncertain. "You're meant for the part," Mr Melnick added, looking very relieved. He handed Nick the floppy Santa hat. "Trust me." Nick tried to give the hat back, but "Nonsense," Mr Beaumont waved a dismissive hand. "I must insist you play the part of Father Christmas in our school play. You'd be doing a wonderful thing for the school and the community." "Well, what do Harper and Will think of it?" Nick looked at us. "No way," I wanted to say, but Will spoke first. "I don't mind," he shrugged. "Whatever." "There you are then," Mr Beaumont declared, without waiting for me to answer. "Let's get you sorted at the office." And he steered Nick into the reception area. Everyone started chatting as soon as they'd gone, saying how lucky it was that we had someone who looked the part, and how good it was that poor Mr Melnick would be spared having to dress up. I sat with a plastic smile on my face, thinking that seeing Nick in an actual Santa suit giving out gifts was not going to help me forget my theory. "He'll make a good Santa, won't he, Henry?" I heard Will ask. Henry didn't look at him. "I guess." Will's shoulders slumped, and I realised I needed to get to the bottom of what was bothering my brother before it got worse.